More and more are joining them. The players are rejoicing.
Welcome to the Old Glammy podcast, a podcast dedicated to all things Glamorgan cricket. To make sure you don't miss any episodes, give us a follow on Twitter at Old Glammy or Instagram, search Old Glammy podcast. So sit back and enjoy with us the ups and probably downs of Glamorgan County Cricket Club. Hi everyone, welcome to the Old Glammy podcast with me, Andy Ward, and as always alongside me is Ed Lockett. Recording this on Monday 22nd of June at just before 6 o'clock in the evening. It's been a momentous day. History's been made. And what we're referring to, obviously, is Glamorgan beating Somerset. What a day. And unexpected. We'll obviously review the results. But that's the first time we've beaten them at home in the county championship since the 60s. And I think the last time we beat them was actually when Glamorgan played on the old Arms Park in Cardiff. But wow, where do we start? We'll quickly round up the T20 Cup function that Glamorgan women were in. They played Hampshire yesterday in Newport, and unfortunately the Glamorgan women lost by 97 runs against Hampshire Hawks. I think it's ended our run in that T20, unfortunately. 101 off their 20 overs, and they lost 3 wickets. And then Glamorgan only made 104 for 9 off their 20. Gemma Porter was the top scorer in the Glamorgan ranks with 23. So disappointing after such a strong start. A great start to the season as well. But yeah, it was round 3 of the County Cup, and the 100% record is gone in that competition. But I'm sure they'll pick themselves up in their next round of fixtures. This is a surprise episode of this podcast. I think we were contemplating doing it after the T20 Blast campaign and prior to the county championship games, which take place in August. But given the momentous victory, then gives warrant us doing it when it's fresh in our minds. So let's go back to that first Friday. When we previewed this, we weren't sure of the squad. And we had a surprise where Zain Hassan was injured and not in the squad. So that brought Henry Hurley into the squad, but he didn't get selected for the first 11. Billy Root got the nod. So an opportunity for Billy Root. And the question was, where's he going to bat? And he opened with Asa Tribe. And as we now reflect on the 2 innings from Billy Root, he clearly didn't make the most of the opportunity, I don't think. We'll touch on the second innings in a minute, but the first innings disappointed for Billy. But before that, we did win the toss, and Kieran Carlson put us in to bat. It was an overcast day in Cardiff on Friday, so I was quite surprised he elected to bat first, given the weather forecast was set fair and was going to improve on the Saturday and definitely the Sunday and the Monday. So tough for bowling conditions. I was quite surprised he put us in to bat. My feelings were coming true when we were 79 for 6. So Billy Root went for 6 and it was 17 for 1. Asa Tribe only made 21. Carlson went for 1. Callaway 5. Ingram then was injured. So that brought Dixon in and he went for 6. And at that point we were teetering. We were 76 for 5. And then Van der Gerten then went for 0 off his 7 balls, and that was then at 79 for 6. And I generally thought, okay, if we can get to 150, that's not great, but it's better than being all out for under 100 at that time. And then Chris Cook came in, steadied the ship, following on from the form he's found in the T20 very nicely, hit this purple patch for us. And I think he rescued the innings. He put on over 150 runs plus, and eventually I think he got bowled by Gus Atkinson on the Saturday morning, almost within the first 10, 15 minutes, and went for 101. But certainly at that point, he was looking more respectable. It was 244 for 7. Not far away from the first batting point. It confirmed that Ingram, I think, was going to come back and play some part batting-wise. He suffered a hand injury, but was able to bat again. And then Mason Crane I think that's a career best. He didn't get the century earlier on in the season. He was out for 99 or 98. He got it this time, 106. Absolutely fantastic. Ingram got 80. Bulb Atkinson, great not to come back, compose himself, and to contribute. And then obviously Norton went for six and Hadley not out, zero. So 358 all out, 114 overs, much better aptitude with the bat than against Sussex. We were in with a shout then, 358 against a strong Surrey lineup. We know they can bat deep. They got England internationals in their ranks. And then the unthinkable happened, really. Surrey 105 all out, batted 34.4 overs. There were wickets for, I've got to start with Tom Norton, 5 for 50. He got the wickets of Sibley, Sam Curran, he got Dan Lawrence, he got Pope, and he got Adam Thomas as well. These are internationals and household names if you know your cricket. Supported by Van Gerten, got 1 for 20. And then Mason Crane, 2 for 9. What a great return from Mason Crane. He really is showing himself to be a quality at Division 1. Ryan Hadley, 1 for 16. And then we were forced to follow on, which was an interesting call because we knew the forecast was set fair and it was going to get hotter. So to bowling 34 overs and bowl 10 overs, the rest, Van Gerten 8 overs, Hadley 8, Callaway 4, and Crane 4.4. So not a county championship innings, more than one day cup workout, but still the bowl with the pitch should have been bait, should have been hotter to conditions. It was a brave call from Captain Carlson. I think I would have put myself back in, got another 200, and then set about bowling them out. But he didn't. He forced to follow on, and of course straight away then it was like, oh, have we? Sorry, just gonna bat time, and obviously the pitch, whatever it's doing on the 2 days, obviously flattened out maybe. So Surrey then set in 4-4-7 all out. So it was Glamorgan needed the one wicket this morning on the final day to get a chance to bat and win the game. I think the target was around 190, something like that. It was under 200. And obviously Rory Burns made 150 at the top. Ollie Pope made 73. And then Tom Laws, who wasn't in the starting 11 for Surrey, he made 66 not out. Hadley got 36. Wickets were shared. Hadley got 4 for 82, and this is going to be his final match for us. So we bowed out taking the wicket that allowed us then to bat and win the game. Callaway 2 for 77, Crane 1 for 92, Tom Norton 2 for 95 and bowled 25 overs. Tim Van Gogh, he bowled 31 overs, 157. Those two in particular, they need a rest now. Watch some of the stream on Sunday after the test match finished early. And Norton, during one of his earlier overs, had to stretch his hamstrings and went off the pitch, and the physio was working on his hamstrings. I had the sound down, and I thought, oh no, he's going to be in the red zone, and we've probably pushed him too much. But he carried on and obviously bowled his 25, but that's got to be it now till for August. Same as Van Gerten. If we can get away with playing him too much in the T20, especially the last couple of games if we're out, I suppose we will have to if he's one of our number one bowlers, but certainly 50 over competition. I don't expect to see them, either of those playing, and I don't want to see them either because we've got tough games coming back in the county championship. Obviously, Gus Atkinson was on Sunday was recalled by England for the squad, for the third test squad, which then made Tom Laws as a substitute came in. There were some debates by a couple of the supporters whether or not they were like for like. Tom Laws more of an all-rounder potential than Gus Atkinson. But I think when I heard that, I was thinking, oh, here we go. And he was obviously batting last, and I was thinking, yeah, typical Glammy luck. I'm presuming it was a decision by the obviously ECB recalled him, but there must have been something in. Captains must have agreed it with the match umpires and referee that if in this scenario that Gus Atkinson was recalled, and given the outcome of the investigation to Stokes and Atkinson, they knew that he probably was going to be playing in that third test because obviously they've been vindicated. Kieran Carlson must have agreed to say, if that happens, then we agree for Gus Atkins to be replaced, and Tom nominated a player who's travelled in the squad as well. So there's probably no foul play or anything. And thought, oh, here we go. Glammy's done the right thing. And we're going to get stitched up. But yeah, as it turns out, it was immaterial in the end. Obviously, the Morgan don't like to make things easy for the supporters. Being 0-1 really wasn't a good start. Billy Root run out. I didn't see it, haven't seen the highlights. That after 4 balls, Ed might correct me on this, but that seems to me that's two players who've never played not played together in a pressure situation. Any run out is an issue of communication, isn't it? So I'm guessing that never played a partnership before, communication wasn't there, and like to be 0-1 in the chase. It was
I think
another disaster. And I thought, yeah, we've seen this movie before, and will we fold? And we'd be all out for 150 and we'll lose by 30 runs.
I'd like to see the circumstance with that run out. It can't have been a bowler scraping it onto the stumps because it was done by Law. Yeah,
Yeah,
Laws.
Lords again. I was like,
Was the
oh
field.
god, this guy's gonna have a really contribute to this Surrey win. We mentioned this about Ingram, and like we mentioned it last season when we were looking for who's going to bat three, who's going to bat four. Ingram clearly has his position, and Carson's now begrudgingly, whether or not that's true or not, now bats at three. But clearly, Asa drives, yeah, I'm batting two. I'm not facing the first ball. And to chuck Root in, who's not an opener, and I made this point to the UC commentators that Billy Root hasn't played cricket recently. Now he has played for the seconds, not for the last month when they've been in white ball action. He hasn't played for the seconds. And even when he played for the seconds, it was middle order 4-5. He didn't open. It wasn't like they were trying him. So that's why I was surprised that they went for him. He's not played this type of cricket for a month or so. It certainly wasn't open in the second championship. To throw him and for him to take the first ball, both innings, well done for him. Has to be commended for that. But that could have ended differently today. And I would have been really angry. But who knows? Henry Hill may have fared the same way. But we chucked Asa Tribe in last year and he sink or swim and he swum really well. I'm thinking, yeah, with Zayn Al-Hassan injured, Eddie Byram not in the picture, what are we getting from Billy Root, who's not an opener, just another makeshift opener when could be trying youngsters?
Maybe that is it, the sacrificial lamb sort of thing.
Yeah,
Maybe it's the team rather than the person.
I was thinking as the second innings went on, interesting that Ingram came in at four and there was no Callaway, and then Dixon came five. Now that Callaway's done really well, and we focused last week on his average, which was one of the best averages, higher than Ingram, coming in at four, and perhaps that's the answer. And I guess I can see the argument why Zayn Al-Hassan is useful to have to fit him in this 11 because he gives you that bowling option, especially if you're playing Kelway and Crane, the spinners. So I think I can see why Zayn Al-Hassan fits into the team, which I may not have seen before. But interesting that Ingram came four and Dixon five. And to me, that's the natural order for me. So interesting why Callaway didn't come in at four. The comment didn't say he was injured or anything. Perhaps he did pick up a niggle. He bowled 26 overs, but we didn't need to rely on him today. So Asa Try went for 30 and we were 71 for two. So still, I'm thinking, okay, if we have a little bit of a collapse now and we're relying on, I don't know, Tim Van Gerten and Mason Crane to bring it home, which we have done in the past. I'm getting memories of Somerset and Red Dudley. I was like, oh, here we go. But King Carlson made 67. We were then 133 for three. So it was like, okay, we were approaching the T interval. But obviously, the last day means if there's a possibility of a result, then they just carry on. But Ingram got 61 not out. I don't know what the nature of his hand injury was, but obviously he came in at full bat and not out 61, and Sean Dixon 26 turned out to be probably the sign of the season. Him and Ryan Hadley, also Ryan Hadley will go away now, so I think that's a great signing. And yeah, we 45 overs, 197 for three, win by 7 wickets, job done. We got 22 points from that match, and Surrey got 2 points. So absolutely delighted, over the moon, surprised. But this is The surprise with this Glamorgan team keep coming. The Sussex defeat, that was disappointing because we know, as we proved today, we've got fight in us and we know how to win now in Division 1. And that Sussex defeat was really disappointing. And I was very concerned that, especially after our first innings doing this game, where we capitulated, we capitulated to 79 for 6. I'm thinking, oh, that memory's fresh from Hove. And how long will it continue for? And when we turn our form around, and I was like, we got Hampshire and Leicestershire in August. They, as we previewed last week, they're near the bottom of the table. Okay, if we've gone in another innings defeat here against Surrey, and then white ball cricket, now we got to turn attention to winning against Hampshire or certainly not getting hammered. The season then turns then, I think. But no, this victory, very well done. And we're now on 107 points, I think, which as of today, we are second.
You're fourth.
Fourth, I think there was another game being played today. Somerset, Warwickshire drew,
That's
so
right.
okay, the table's been updated. My apologies. Essex and Nottinghamshire won by an innings that finished on Sunday, same as Leicestershire, Yorkshire. Leicestershire won by an innings against Yorkshire. Wow. Hampshire won as well against Sussex. Wow. This Division 1 is tight, isn't it? Hampshire couldn't buy a win, and Yorkshire obviously strong, lost by an innings. Wow. So now we can look at the table. We are fourth, 107 points. Somerset, Warwickshire are tied on 111, and then Nottinghamshire are 116. So I still maintain we are 43. Well, I say we're 43 away from the 150 points. Given how close it is, that may not be enough to stay up. So we'll have to keep an eye on that. Sussex are below us 105, and they're joint with Essex 105, and then it's Surrey 91, Yorkshire 89, Hampshire, Leicester tied on 72. Wow, it's probably, let's predict now, this is probably going to be one of the closest Division 1 campaigns in recent memory. And it's good that Glamorgan are finding their feet and competing in a really competitive Division 1. I'll let Ed come in and give his views, but we have got Leicestershire on the 20th of August away, and then we've got Hampshire at the Gardens on the 27th of August. So they're back-to-back games. Obviously, the halfway game with Sussex, we got hammered up against Leicestershire. They've just won home against Yorkshire. Okay, could be a tricky one. And then Hampshire then home at the Gardens where we can win. Ed, your thoughts, play of the match, your reflections?
Yeah, a massive win, a brilliant win. And yeah, like you say, it just all contributes to that table. Pulling Surrey back, who in the past have been up there, and you would think this can't be their season. Surrey's now that they've lost those games. That table is wide, wide open. I'm sure a strong county, they've been up there in the past, but I think this is going to be a really exciting run in come August and September. So a lot to look forward to when we start again. But I mean, yeah, in the context of this game, some amazing performances. A few unsung heroes. I always think Van der Hoogten so economical, isn't he? And only a wicket apiece each innings. But I think he's just a really good bowler to have, really very so reliable. That's a really good bowling trio. Him, Norton, and Hadley. It's very difficult to sort of look for a one outstanding performance because there were so many and all massive contributions. But for finally getting over the line, I think I'd go for Mason Crane because his first class century and his contribution with the ball as well. But yeah, brilliant performance. Tom Norton, yes, it's definitely too early for an international call up, but
I'm going to say, I know what you're going to say, Ed. Don't mention it. Let's not publicise it. Keep him a
no,
secret.
I think very much on England A's sort of radar for this winter, wherever they are. But it looks really promising.
Some of those wickets he was taking, and there was the batters. The names, these are well-known household names. And the way he took the wickets, I was like, yeah, you can see the future there. Like when Simon Jones burst on the scene and just that pace and just getting the ball to move, and it's just, yeah, got it. So what some of those wickets, I was like, as long as they look after him and they nurture him and they make sure he doesn't get injuries, and England don't mess around too much with his action, then this guy's going to get, yeah, he's probably going to get better. So I'm excited. I am excited because I was like, yeah, this is that hat trick he took earlier on in the season and the 5 wickets he took. He's done it again. And this feels something special. And I just hope we manage it properly. I've obviously got a soft spot for Chris Cook, and I think if he come in and I rescue that innings, I was like, yeah, definitely leaning to Cookie. But reflecting on the work that Crane did with the ball, and then to get his 100, I think I'm swayed. I think you've swayed me, Ed, but Cookie would be a very close second. Great stalwart, and yeah, I knew he was a quality player, and he's doing it in the first division now after a little bit of a rocky start for the season, but he's come good. He's doing it in the T20 as well, so delighted. Yeah, absolutely on a high with that. We beat Surrey, amazing. Would never have thought of the campaign. In terms of looking ahead, yeah, we've got Leicestershire, then Hampshire, and then we have Surrey again. Before that, we got 2nd September, we got Somerset away at Taunton. Oh, that's gonna be tough. Warwickshire at home, then Surrey away, and we got Essex last game of the season. So if we can get something from the Leicester, Hampshire, and then with a bit of luck, we'll be around that one potentially 140, 50 mark. Got a lot of white ball cricket before then, which could help our red ball season or could derail it a little bit. And let's look at that Sussex first innings where we were transitioning from white to red ball. It didn't quite work. All in all, positive. Thanks to Ryan Hadley. Hopefully, he comes back to the Gardens and he puts on the daffodil again. But we'll be seeing him in September or the August game. So it'll be interesting to see what the club are thinking in terms of replacing Hadley. It would have to be another pace bowler. We've got Callaway and Crane as the spin options, and there's no point getting another third spinner in, I don't think. It'll be interesting to see who they announce, because I'm sure they're working on something. I think that brings us all up to date. Huge well done to the team. Hope Ingram's hand injury isn't too serious, but like I said, but looks like it's not. And I hope Callaway, that was just a tactical decision not to bat him today. And hope he's not injured as well going into the T20 campaign when we restart that at the end of this week. My thanks to Ed for agreeing to do this special podcast before we have a little mid-season break ourselves. Thank you all for listening and downloading, liking and subscribing. We will be back in late August, post T20, and to preview that Leicestershire game. But until then, go well, everyone. Go Glammy. Bye for now.